Imagine, for a moment, that the silent, intricate dance between desire and power holds a truth so profound, so elemental, that it has remained tantalizingly hidden in plain sight for centuries. What if the greatest minds in psychology, to the cutting-edge discoveries of modern neuroscientists, have already pinpointed the exact emotional and psychological mechanisms that can trigger an almost unstoppable, deeply rooted devotion within the male psyche? This isn't some fleeting trick or a shallow game of manipulation. We're talking about a journey into the very primal architecture of human desire itself. Consider the most magnetic, unforgettable women throughout history. They didn't just stumble upon their allure. They possessed an instinctive, almost intuitive grasp of this powerful knowledge. They understood, at a core level, that a man's truest, most fervent pursuit isn't sparked by what he can easily obtain, but by that which genuinely challenges his very essence, his sense of self. These women knew how to delicately yet profoundly touch that vulnerable, often unacknowledged space between a man's outward ego and his hidden shadow, igniting not just a fleeting attraction, but something far more potent, far more consuming, a deep, resonant obsession. Prepare yourself, because today we are about to unveil the psychological alchemy that has the power to transform mere casual interest into an unwavering, undying devotion. This is a science-backed revelation, a blueprint that clearly explains why certain interactions forge incredibly deep, lasting bonds, and it will illuminate the precise psychological triggers that activate a man's deepest, most primal need to commit and adore. What you are on the verge of discovering will fundamentally alter your entire understanding of relationships, not through deceptive tricks or surface-level tactics, but through a profound, authentic comprehension of the masculine soul in its most raw and genuine form. Are you truly ready to possess what might just be the most transformative, game-changing knowledge about love and connection that exists in the world today? The insights you're about to gain could redefine everything you thought you knew. Have you ever found yourself in that frustrating, almost heart-wrenching cycle where the more you seem to chase a man, the more distant he becomes, the less he appears to value your affection and effort? It's a common experience, yet the reason behind it is a truth that has been carefully guarded, almost a secret whispered through the ages, buried deep within the labyrinth of male psychology, a secret that precious few women ever come to fully understand. This isn't just any secret, it's a piece of knowledge so potent that it holds the capability to make a man fall head over heels, madly in love with you, even if, just moments before, he seemed utterly uninterested or aloof. The legendary Shi Heng Yi, one of the most influential psychoanalysts in history, dedicated his life to exploring the human mind. In his groundbreaking studies of the collective unconscious, that shared reservoir of human experience and archetypes, he revealed a fascinating concept. Every man, regardless of his outward confidence or demeanor, carries within him what Shi Heng Yi termed a primordial wound. This isn't a physical injury, but a deep-seated psychological vulnerability, a subtle ache in his soul. And here's the crucial part. When this specific wound is touched, approached in exactly the right way, it awakens within him an almost obsessive, undeniable need to prove his worth, to rise to a challenge, to demonstrate his value, particularly to the one who has perceived this hidden depth. And that precisely is the art and science I am going to teach you today. Imagine, just for a moment, wielding the ability to awaken in the man you desire a passion so intense, so all-consuming, that the very thought of his life without you becomes unimaginable to him. Picture him thinking about you throughout his day, eagerly sending you messages, craving your attention, your time, your mere presence with an intensity that surprises even himself. What I'm about to share with you transcends simple tricks or fleeting dating techniques. It is a profound ancestral knowledge, a deep understanding of the masculine soul, and what truly, fundamentally, moves a man beyond the realm of pure logic or reason. This is about learning how to access the deepest, most protected layers of the masculine ego, not with the cruel intent to harm or diminish it, but with the wisdom to awaken within him the archetypal warrior, the innate protector, the fiercely devoted lover who yearns at his core to prove his immeasurable worth to the woman he cherishes. So many women, perhaps unknowingly, waste precious years of their lives trying to conquer or often reconquer a man using strategies that are quite frankly doomed to fail. They offer everything they have, their undivided love, their unwavering dedication, their constant support, only to receive mere crumbs of affection in return. And do you truly understand why this painful dynamic occurs so frequently? It's because they are operating in complete ignorance of how the male mind, in its most fundamental programming, actually works. Now, fascinatingly, modern neuroscience has begun to catch up, finally confirming with empirical evidence what Shi Heng Yi intuited and articulated decades ago. The male brain, studies show, is quite literally programmed to place a higher value on that which it needs to strive for, to conquer that which represents a genuine challenge to his identity, his competence, his very sense of himself as a man. When you grasp this concept, truly internalize it, you hold in your hands the power to completely transform the way men perceive and respond to you. The insights you are about to learn are not new inventions. They are timeless truths that the most magnetic, captivating, and utterly irresistible women throughout history have always known, perhaps not consciously or academically, but intuitively, deep within their being. Think of Cleopatra, whose allure shaped empires, or Marilyn Monroe, whose mystique captivated a generation. The great seductresses of every era instinctively understood this fundamental truth about the male ego and the dynamics of desire. Prepare yourself, because after this journey, you will never look at relationships or the way you interact with men in the same way again. And that one particular man, the one who currently occupies your thoughts, will never be the same after you begin to apply the revelations that are about to be unveiled. Our exploration into this transformative knowledge truly began more than a century ago at a pivotal moment when Shi Heng Yi, after a significant intellectual break with his mentor Sigmund Freud, courageously immersed himself in the uncharted depths of what he termed the collective unconscious. Shi Heng Yi's pioneering work revealed that beyond our conscious ego, the part of our psyche that we readily identify with, there exists a far more vast and complex structure, an intricate internal landscape that governs our deepest desires, motivations, and attractions. To truly understand how one might, as we've discussed, touch or even metaphorically wound a man's ego in a way that paradoxically awakens not resentment, but profound love, we must first grasp Shi Heng Yi's concept of the shadow. The shadow represents that part of a man, indeed of any individual, that he often hides, sometimes even from himself. It's the repository of his vulnerabilities, his unacknowledged fears, the aspects of his personality that he deems unacceptable or weak, his fear of not being enough, of not being truly valued, of not being genuinely admired. Have you ever noticed how some men can project an image of immense confidence, almost an unshakable exterior, yet beneath that surface they carry deep, often well-concealed insecurities? This is the inherent duality of the male psyche that Shi Heng Yi so brilliantly mapped in his studies. And it is precisely within this delicate interplay, this dance between the projected self and the hidden shadow, that the extraordinary power to awaken an almost obsessive, deeply devoted love in a man truly resides. One of my clients, let's call her Jennifer, was utterly and completely in love with a man who, to her despair, seemed barely to notice her existence. She did everything for him. She was always available at a moment's notice, unfailingly attentive to his needs, constantly ready to help with any problem he faced. Yet the more she dedicated herself, the more she poured her energy into him, the less interest he showed. It felt like a cruel cosmic irony. When Jennifer finally came to me, desperate, heartbroken, and on the verge of giving up, I revealed to her this very same secret about the male psyche that I am now sharing with you. I explained that, according to modern neuroscience, the male brain produces significantly higher levels of dopamine, the powerful neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, motivation, and reward, when it is faced with a challenge, an obstacle to overcome, or a goal to achieve. When something is perceived as too easy, too readily obtained. The male brain simply doesn't assign it the same high value. But please, pay close attention here. I am not advocating for childish games, manipulative tactics, or emotional unavailability for its own sake. What I am talking about is developing a profound understanding of the true nature of what Shi Heng Yi might call the sacred masculine. That inherent driving energy he identified as a primary force behind men's behavior. This energy is in a constant state of seeking. It yearns to prove its worth, to conquer challenges, and to overcome obstacles, thereby affirming its own vitality and strength. The first crucial Shi Heng Yi influenced concept I introduced to Jennifer was that of the anima, the internalized feminine archetype or principle that exists within every man. This unconscious feminine aspect profoundly influences how he perceives and relates to the women in his life. When a man unconsciously projects his anima onto a particular woman, he essentially, within his own psyche, transforms her into an almost divine, idealized figure. She becomes the embodiment of his deepest longings, his muse, the missing piece he didn't even know he was searching for. This projection is the very basis of what we often call obsessive love, that overwhelming, all-encompassing passion that defies logic. So, the pivotal question becomes, how do you encourage him to project his anima onto you? This is precisely where the concept of wounding the ego in a sacred, respectful, and ultimately transformative way comes into play. We are not speaking of humiliation, cruelty, or causing genuine emotional pain. Instead, we are referring to the art of delicately touching that sensitive point within him, that core of his being that, when stimulated correctly, compels him to prove his worth, not just to you, but more importantly, to himself through his connection with you. Shi Heng Yi discovered that when a man is subtly, intelligently challenged by a woman he admires and respects, when his sense of competence, his values, or his current state of being is gently questioned in a way that implies she sees even greater potential within him, something almost magical happens within his psyche. He enters a state that we could describe as a hypnosis of the heart, a captivating focus where earning the love, admiration, and deep respect of that particular woman becomes one of the most important driving ambitions in his life. Now, I am going to share with you 3 potent, almost ancestral secrets that delve into how to activate this powerful state within the male mind. These are not quick fixes, but profound principles that, when understood and applied with wisdom, transformed the love life of Jennifer, and indeed hundreds of other women who have embraced this knowledge. The first of these is what I call the mirror of the soul. Shi Heng Yi often spoke about how a man, at a deep psychological level, seeks to see his best, most idealized version of himself reflected in the eyes of the woman he loves. This isn't about flattering his current state, but about holding up a mirror to his untapped potential. When you can skillfully show a man that you perceive the extraordinary capabilities lying dormant within him, capabilities that perhaps he hasn't yet fully realized or actualized, you create a kind of sacred dynamic tension within his soul. He begins to feel an intrinsic desire, a powerful pull to prove, both to himself and, crucially, to you, that he is indeed capable of becoming that remarkable man you've glimpsed. This isn't achieved through overt criticism or nagging. That would be counterproductive. It's a far more subtle, nuanced, and infinitely more powerful approach. It's about conveying, through your words, your gaze, and your overall demeanor, that you deeply believe in his inherent greatness, yet you also perceive that he can reach even further, achieve even more. It's a look, a comment, that essentially says, I see the incredible man you are capable of becoming, rather than a more complacent, I accept you exactly as you are right now. This subtle, yet profound distinction is absolutely transformative. It's not about dissatisfaction with who he is, but an inspiring belief in who he could be. This doesn't mean you don't love him as he is, but that your belief in him is so vast it encompasses his future growth. When you're conversing, for instance, instead of just asking about his day-to-day achievements, guide him towards his dreams with questions like, if you knew, with absolute certainty that you couldn't fail, what magnificent thing would you set out to do? This question connects him with his ideal self, his deepest aspirations. Then, after listening with genuine, rapt attention, you might say something like, "You know, when you talk about that, I see something truly special in you. I see someone capable of so much more than even what you've already achieved. There's a light in your eyes, a passion in your voice that shows me the extraordinary man you are on the path to becoming." This kind of reflection acts like an arrow straight to the masculine heart. It's not a criticism, it's a loving, inspiring challenge. You're showing him that you see his unrealized potential, that hidden part of him that perhaps even he doesn't fully acknowledge. This wounds his ego just enough, not to break it, but to awaken his innate desire to rise to the occasion and prove his ultimate worth to you. Recent neuroscience studies support this, showing that when a man feels positively challenged by a woman he admires, his brain releases not only a surge of dopamine, the reward chemical, but also vasopressin, a neurotransmitter strongly associated with pair bonding, deep attachment, and fidelity in mammals. You are literally activating the brain chemistry of love and unwavering devotion. Remember, the masculine ego, at its core, thrives on meaningful challenges. When you offer him such a challenge, wrapped in genuine admiration and belief, you create a perfect, irresistible storm within his psyche. The second secret delves into what I call the paradox of presence. Modern neuroscience provides fascinating insights here, showing us that the male brain, particularly in the context of attraction and pursuit, is often more powerfully stimulated by what is intermittent, somewhat unpredictable, rather than what is constant, always available, and entirely predictable. This is one reason why activities like gambling can be so addictive. The unpredictable nature of the reward creates a state of heightened anticipation and excitement, releasing far more dopamine than a reward that is guaranteed and consistently delivered. Now translate this to relationships. When you are always available, constantly present, perpetually offering your love and attention unconditionally and without any sense of your own independent rhythm, the male brain, however unfair or counterintuitive it may seem, begins to produce less dopamine in association with your presence. You inadvertently become predictable, a secure fixture, and sadly, in the primitive, reward-seeking parts of the brain, what is entirely secure is rarely valued at the deepest, most primal level. The paradox of presence teaches that you should strive to be like the moon, undeniably present, a powerful force, yet beautifully cyclical in your phases, sometimes fully visible and radiant, at other times partially veiled or mysteriously absent, only to return again. You are accessible, yes, but never entirely, completely possessed or taken for granted. This doesn't mean you should be insincere, play cruel hot and cold games, or engage in manipulative withholding. Absolutely not. It means authentically honoring your own life, cultivating your own passions, nurturing your own mysteries, and steadfastly walking your own sacred path. When you do this, when you have a rich, fulfilling existence independent of him, you subtly wound the man's ego in a way that inspires him. It makes him want to prove that he is worthy of being a significant part of your already vibrant world, that he deserves to have you more completely, to be privy to your inner world. It's about honoring your own individuation, that Shi Heng Yi influenced process of becoming truly, authentically yourself. In practice, this means that when a man enters your life, he should not find an empty vessel eagerly waiting to be filled by him. Instead, he should discover a life already rich, meaningful, and fascinating, a life into which he deeply desires to earn a cherished place. Stop the habit of responding to messages the instant they arrive, not as a calculated strategy, but because you are genuinely engrossed in living your own compelling life. Cultivate personal interests, passions, and even spiritual practices to which he doesn't have immediate or complete access. Have facets of your life that are uniquely yours, deep friendships, creative hobbies, intellectual pursuits. When he inquires about these sacred parts of your life, share them with genuine enthusiasm, but resist the urge to over-explain. or try to convince him to participate or fully understand them. Allow some aspects to retain an aura of mystery for him. Neuroscience confirms that the male brain is particularly activated and intrigued by unsolved mysteries and incomplete pictures. They occupy his mental space, fuel his curiosity, and can generate a healthy, constructive form of obsession as he seeks to understand and